Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone to Connect and Collaborate White Sands Self-Care Group. We are all about providing resources, education, and connection to other professionals to help support you on your self-care journey. I am Laura Cross, your host, and I am happy to have this week where our discussion this week for both days actually is going to be all about professional and practical self-care. And today I have two beautiful ladies with me. I have Suzanne Eccher. She is a licensed massage therapist and massage industry mentor. And she's the owner of Next Generation Therapies since 1995 and the co-owner of New Business Dimensions. She mentors small business owners in the massage industry and in other industries on how to get clients, create multiple streams of income, learn collaboration techniques, and develop treatment-based programs. She has been a speaker for 2 Colorado-based conferences, has coordinated 3 live conferences for massage therapists and other business professionals, and has mentored hundreds of practitioners and business owners throughout her career. She is nationally approved provider of education for the massage industry and a 2-time author. Suzanne continues to consult for massage schools and book companies, reviewing business plans, content, and education. And her mission is to increase confidence of the independent massage owner in their business and practice and help massage therapists, all massage therapists in any settings to continue to love their career, which I think in any setting that's important is to love your career. Otherwise, you will definitely have burnout. The other beautiful lady we have with us is Ginn, and she has been active in the field of massage therapy and bodywork since 1991. She is the creator of Ethical Dimensions and co-creator of New Business Dimensions. And her educational courses focus on transformational ethics and self-leadership. She is a body-centered Hakomi, I believe you pronounce that, practitioner. Yeah. Okay. End-of-life care doula and body-centered grief companion. Kathy is an advanced teacher with the Right Use of Power Institute. She has studied with Bob Proctor and Mary Morrissey. She has served as a teacher and a mentor for over 25 years. She is the author of her most recent book, The Soul of Ethical Service. Kathy's deep desire is to expand the study of ethics from a simple professional requirement to a path of deep transformation and personal guardianship. Her commitment and dedication is to inspire others to find joy, deep meaning, and passion in their vocation while offering your best self to the world. Serving others from our higher self is truly a journey of awakening. And she is a body-centered practitioner, teacher, mentor, author, entrepreneur. And I am so honored to have both of you ladies here. I think we have a lot in common and a lot of good knowledge to share. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Suzanne. Suzanne, if you can tell me a little bit how you got started and why, that is so important to you, because I know we've talked a little bit about it between ourselves. I've known Suzanne for a couple of years now, and I know her passion is massage therapist, but it reaches out to more than massage therapists. It goes to business owners as well. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more of how you got into that and how you expanded.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I love the profession of massage therapy, and where we've seen it change has been not as rich of education and background as what we had back in the 90s. And I feel this is very important because there is more of a well-rounded providing the education to transform into the profession itself. And so some of that has kind of changed. And it took me a while to figure out that's what it was. I know that I wanted to serve the industry in a way that could help people be successful in their career, and I still do that. However, I hadn't quite refined it until I met Kathy. And we started collaborating on the aspects of what we what has helped us last in this industry. And it's a point of ease. It's not a point of work. And so the things that we've learned and have implemented in our businesses, our practices, have actually helped us stay in it, because we're following a different way than what is currently being done out there. And it's a different generation of people. And so it's more on like, you don't know what you don't know, one of those things where, having a well-rounded approach to business and your practice as practitioners, whether you're in massage or holistic health, is really important.
Yeah, and having that self-care, I've known a number of massage therapists, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I've seen from most of them is they are so focused on taking care of other people and making those ends meet and everything, that they rack their own body and stuff through a whole lot of pain. They don't really necessarily take care of themselves because they pour so much into others.
Exactly. And so, there is a time in which you grow from doing the work. The work actually makes you grow and learn about yourself much more than you ever thought possible. And it can hit emotional things in your life. It brings challenges to your life. And then how do you overcome those challenges? Sometimes it's as quick as changing your environment. Sometimes it's doing deeper work on yourself. But you have to take care of yourself in order to provide for others. And this, Laura, too, is that, if you don't stop and take care of business for yourself, you're not going to get further. And so that's a lot of what we teach, actually.
But that's in my wheelhouse, because that's what I always tell everybody is self-care is not selfish. It's essential for a healthier you.
Yes.
You can just only pour out so much before you shut down and before you start being in pain. And then the attention or the what you want to give to your customers is not truly there because you're hurting and suffering. So yeah, definitely.
Yes. And I'll let Kathy talk about her book, The Soul of Ethical Service, but I think you'd really enjoy it, Laura. I think it's something you'd really enjoy. But yes, so I want to talk a little bit more about New Business Dimensions. Kathy and I decided to join forces because we did have these baseline foundational tools that helped us last, right? So we want to share that with other people so they don't burn out and they don't have to say, well, now what do I do? So we've been talking for quite some time, over a year. And we are now launching an online community, and it's our debut is coming in March, and we are starting with a topic, and we call it Inspiring Conversations with Kathy and Suzanne. And it's about more than just business. It's about where you're at. It can be in the future question oriented. It's something that we feel that people really crave, but are afraid to go out and find. Part of what helped me grow my business is that I collaborated with other people, not necessarily in making money together, but in learning from each other. And that's really important because I have not met one massage therapist that's the same as me. And even the ones I went through the program with in my massage school, we still provide very different work. So you can't imagine that there's any same people out there doing, massage therapy. Techniques are different, but you're different too. And really what brands your business is you. So having skills that are unique to you is really important. And staying true to that is really what we like to help and mentor people with. So part of the collaboration is like receiving work from each other or understanding what you do in business and how that's different. And maybe there's one little nugget that Kathy does that I don't do. what if I implemented that? Maybe I'll try it. And so those are the things that I feel are really missed in our industry. It's not competition. It's all about learning from each other. And being open to that, I think, is a really important piece of your growth. Yeah. So that's the collaboration, which leads to community. And that's why we're passionate about what we're doing, because the community aspect is, people could be in a small town and they have like 3 other therapists in town, and they need more growth. They need more insight. They want more information. Maybe they want our education classes, and we can talk about that later, but all of our classes are designed to help them grow, whether it be in business skills, or in how they apply themselves in their business, their practice, how they practice if they're an employee. That's all very important to really know yourself well and to grow within that job or that profession. So that can apply to anyone in business. What's that?
Yeah, and I believe it does apply to any business. I think there's too many that look at everything as, a competition. What they teach you marketing, who's your competition? I'm like, I don't got competition because I'm me. I make, I am unique to this. Some people will resonate with me, some people won't, but that's exactly why I love this group. And that's why I put this group together, because I think we need to collaborate more and provide those resources, because in the end, it's about who we can help, and support and get them on their way. So
yeah,
thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, if I think about all the phases of growth I went through, it's so different from one, maybe 3 years to 5 years to 7 years, just different how I grew. I've been in the industry 28 years. And that's kind of rare. Have people over 20 years in our industry. And, the fact is, I don't want that to be the case. I want people to be in 50 years and 60 years, and still do the work and love it. And so that's what we're passionate about. And then the other thing I want to add is the business itself can be very overwhelming. It's not easy, for sure. Right. Especially the beginning parts are very, very challenging. And I think having the right mindset around the business is what Kathy and I have learned, what that pace is for us, or what the pace could be for someone else. They really ultimately have to discover it. We're not going to tell them what to do in that realm, but we can give them the skills and the tools and the information, the mindset, the self-growth pieces to help them. And in self-leadership, we talk about being a business owner. Being a business owner, like I said, is challenging for us. We've got the therapy side and we've got the business side. Not too often do they go together easily. So, but having, your systems in place, or your methods in place, how you greet people, how you treat people, how you follow up with people, all those things is what any business owner goes through. So we want to help support that for them. And when you own your business, you are leading it yourself, and that can feel very lonely. So again, why we create a community to help people with that. But the nice thing about identifying in self-leadership is that you have the ability to make decisions when you need to, when you want to. If something isn't working, you can shift into something else. And the beauty of our industry and what we do is we can do a lot of different things in our career and learn. Learning is key, and we want to foster the learning process for them and give them more resources for that. So that's what I wanted to share today. And So when we are called New Business Dimensions, and we have 5 dimensions within what we provide. So my expertise is in dimension 1, which is business and leadership skill, or business skills, entrepreneurship, and solopreneurship. And everything within the other dimensions folds into that. So it's not just, you just need one dimension, you need all the dimensions. Mentoring is another piece that is a part of self-care, because you have to be willing to grow. And how do you do that? You can read books and books and books, but that may not be enough. Mentoring allows you to have conversations and spark your creativity. And so that's what we want to provide too, is to help them grow in that as well. So I think I'll leave it now to Kathy, who can cover a little bit more about the general rest of the dimensions, as far as like just touching on them. But she has some really wonderful insights to share. And I'll let you take it from here, Kathy.
Thanks, Suzanne. And Laura, thank you for inviting us on today. And you said earlier, Laura, I wrote it down, got to, I can hardly read my own writing. Get it right when helping others. You said it's something like that. And I'd like to address that at a later point, because, and you said that was impossible. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I agree with you so much. And then the whole topic that the two of you had was around collaboration and competition. And in the context of self-care, just think about this, is competition sucks a lot of energy from us, mentally, energetically, right?
Yes.
But collaboration, it fills us. And so in the umbrella of self-care, just that belief system and one's relationship to their business, is it competition or is it collaboration? And Suzanne, you said it perfectly. Collaboration leads to community. And that's really what New Dimensions is about too, is the community aspect of it. And I'll talk about that just briefly later. But, Laura, your whole topic is on self-care. And so I came in with a few thoughts around self-care, really for any entrepreneur or solopreneur, or anyone that is caring for another person. I just happen to be a massage therapist and a body-centered therapist with my background in end-of-life care doula, so working with the dying and the grief. But caregiving can be very high burnout. We know that. Suzanne and I both know that in our profession of massage therapy and body work, burnout is huge. And it saddens us to know that our profession has such a high burnout rate. And most people think it's physical burnout. And I said, yes, it is. And I'll talk about that in a moment, but it's also emotional and spiritual burnout. And Suzanne has already covered that a little bit. And Laura, in some of your comments, you have covered that too. So I decided in this time that I have, I'm just going to cover kind of 3 spokes around how I approach self-care. I have Ethical Dimensions also, which is a continuing education company. And my approach to ethics is transformation. It's not about so much the law and the code, very important, but that's not my approach. My approach is more transformational, and self-care is an ethical issue. I'm convinced of it. And so part of the journey of self-care is really the journey of awakening to ourself. Because if we're not aware of ourself, that is part of the cause of burnout, because then we're just running unconsciously on our old beliefs. And many of our old beliefs don't work. They burn us out. So there's many ways to approach this topic of self-care, as both of you know. And today I'm just going to share with the audience, Laura, your audience, are three main teachings. So I just ask your audience to sit back and notice what you notice. And the first one, I offer this in my self-care class, is the topic of, it's called the helping prison. And I found these two words many, many years ago from a book that I read, How Can I Help by Ram Dass. And it was my favorite chapter, the helping prison. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what we all fall into as caregivers or as entrepreneurs or people serving another human being. Okay, so we know that, but we have to take it deeper. So the helping prison resonated with me. And that's all about exploring the risks of our role as an entrepreneur, because we have to do everything, and as a caregiver. And so I'm going to keep this simple and very compact. What I'm going to share is under the helping prison, that knowing that there are risks to our role, bottom line. And it's our responsibility to explore the risk of our role. Okay. And I believe this is one of the main reasons of burnout. What I'm going to share with your audience for the next couple minutes. We often care too much. I think, Laura, you even mentioned that earlier. We want to fix everything and everybody. We want to make things better. This is just kind of a natural part of who we are. I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying become mindful of it and learn from it. We have to have all the answers. And we get attached to being a helper. And that stems from early childhood. Be good and help. Mow the lawn, dad'll give you the keys to his car. Help mom with dishes, babysit your little sister. We learn our role as helper from little on. And then we become good helpers as adult professionals. Being helpful gets encouraged. And again, I'm linking this to the high burnout rate in our profession. It's just not physical. I think this is a major reason that therapists, practitioners burn out, is because of we care too much. We want to give too much. We want to fix too much. And really just to be aware of it, to wake up to our inner self, our belief systems, our patterns, our paradigms, what works and what doesn't. So being responsible, it's a great quality, but sometimes we become over-responsible. And in my classes, I begin to teach this. How do we do this? What are your beliefs around self-care, your attitudes around self-care, your relationship to being helper? Because this can be energy sucking. And then we lose our joy and our passion and our compassion for our service work. And maybe why most of us are here on this earth, to serve others with the gifts we've been given. But when we don't have self-care, we lack self-care. It can be so damaging. And I think our lens of self-care can also be very limited. Because oftentimes people think it's just eat right, get enough sleep, exercise. And there is so much more. Laura, you know that. And Suzanne, you know that. Many people know that. So the helping prison, being responsible, we want to be useful. You know, we want to be powerful. The power differential. We want to feel enough, which is part of our developmental years, right? Feeling enough. And sometimes that drives us in our professional career, and it drains us. And then feeling needed. And so my whole teaching around self-care is what I've just mentioned isn't bad, but it can deplete us if we don't embrace it in a mindful, aware, awakened state. It's good to be responsible, right? It's good to use our power, professional power, wisely, right? But when we're living on automatic, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So the helping prison and depletes us. That's our whole developmental years. We've learned that when we were little kids, you know, being responsible, being enough, being needed, being useful. And then that drives us as healthcare practitioners and can become very, very draining. I call it personal guardianship. I love that term. I didn't make it up. I learned it probably from a book I read, you know, but I love that because it's an easeful way of looking at self-care, and a really quite a respectful way. Because oftentimes, you know, that word selfless service, this is my second point that I teach students, is the difference between selfless service and self-full service. And I always thought selfless service was what you should do. You give everything you've got, right? To your clients, to yourself, to your business, right? You go over your boundaries, over your limits, you become a good helper, and you're very responsible. And I work on Memorial Day because 2 clients want me to, because they have off, you know, and which I used to do many, many, many years ago. And so what is the difference between selfless service and self-full? Selfless service is often thought of as ideal, you know, but it really is serving empty from an empty kind of tank. We all know cars don't run on an empty tank. And we as human beings try to run on an empty tank so very often. And pretty soon, we all know what happens. So selfless service doesn't really work long term. Self-full service is really serving from a full self. Some of the things that I mentioned earlier. How do we fill ourselves through self-care? What does that really mean to each individual that's watching? Selfless service. What does that feel like to you? Self-full service. What does that feel like to you right now? They're very different. And our intention is to really offer our care, our gifts from a place of self-full. So we serve from our best self, our whole self, our higher self, right? But what is that? As I teach ethics, I tell my students, I rarely come from an authoritative role context. That's not my approach to ethics. My approach is more of inquiry. You know, asking the question. Because every question has an answer. And I know that answer is within you, within me. We just gotta ask the questions. You know, and so what is selfless service? What is self-full service? How do you fill yourself back up? And I'm not talking about TV, you know, so to speak. It's important that not causing harm to ourselves is just as important as not causing harm to our clients. And when we don't self-care, it is a harm to ourselves. We all know that. We've been there. I know when I'm getting burned out. I know when I'm tired. And many other things. And for me as a practitioner, as Suzanne has mentioned her longevity in this profession, I've been in the profession 32 years. We're very unique, and I say that humbly and with deep gratitude, And these people that I hear that they're sore and thinking of quitting the profession and they've been in for 2 years, I'm like, why? Why? Why give up something you love to do? Because you think you're tired? You know, and whatever profession you're in, I think that happens. But the study is really about oneself. What am I doing that creates this intense burnout or this wanting to quit on myself, really, right? Because that's what we're doing. We're quitting on ourselves and our passion and our heart's desire and maybe our purpose here. I don't know. So selfless versus selfless service is really something to consider. And then another thing, one of the last things I'd like to cover is a discipline. We all have our disciplines of self-care, you know, and one of my ones that I teach, I practice myself, is really the discipline of quiet stillness. A withdrawal, daily, whatever you decide, into stillness and silence and solitude. Our world is noisy. It's cluttered. It's full of doing. I know many people that can't sit for 2 minutes. And I think of how draining that is to the nervous system, to many things within our own body, our psyche, our soul. And so I teach the discipline of solitude and silence and stillness and deep breathing. This is all self-care, no matter what profession we're in. No matter what profession we're in. And then, of course, being in nature. I think nature is just a gigantic refill for all of us, for in many, many ways. I think that's one of the reasons we have nature around us, is to refill us, to feed us, and to teach us. Even around self-care, you know. So if I may share a little, and maybe it's a metaphor on nature, okay? I've used it for many years, but it kind of encompasses what I've shared with you and your audience the past several minutes. And it's titled The Naked Tree. And for all of us that live in 4 seasons, we see naked trees, right? Come late autumn and certainly during the winter, right? And up where I'm from, Wisconsin, so people love September and October. The trees are beautiful and the leaves begin to change colors, right? And everybody loves October in Wisconsin or Maine, right? Wherever y'all, probably Colorado too, and many other states that have the 4 seasons. And then the days become shorter and the trees begin losing their leaves and people start complaining. And I've observed this for the past several years, and I'm a curious kind of person. So I'm like, this is really interesting. I love this time of year. You know, it's dark. It invites us into some ease and, right, some quietness. And this tree that just lost its beautiful leaves, and if I may say the outside of the tree, how people identify with a tree is because of the colored leaves. But when they're all gone, people tend to complain. And I'm like, wow, that's what we do in life. When I no longer can help my client because I don't have the information, or it's out of my scope of practice, or I don't have the product they want, or whatever it is, we start losing the leaves on our tree. But my question always to my students, or my statement first, and then a question, but you guys, is it still a tree? It's strong. It has deep roots. It can withstand the wind most of the time. It's still a tree, and it'll grow back its leaves. But meanwhile, let's enjoy it. And it's the same for us. We lose our leaves as entrepreneurs, as healthcare practitioners. Suzanne, you mentioned it earlier. We got to go to plan B, right? We identify with our beautiful colored leaves, but now they're stripped. Some of them are. My client left me, or whatever it is. And so the question is, do we base our own self-image, our own way of serving on our external doing? Or if that is removed from our life for a while or for a long while, can we really stand strong in who we really are and serve from that place? And that is a question. And what is that place? And that's for each individual to find out. How do you get drowned in the helping prison? Do you find yourself in the helping prison? What needs to shift and change? How do you get out of prison? Your own, right? By helping too much, and some of the things that we've all mentioned so far this morning. And so I love the metaphor of the naked tree because it invites, I hope, people to really sit back and say, wow, who am I when I am naked? Metaphorically. You know, can I still serve from my naked self? Yes. But it takes awareness. And we have to come from a self-full type of service, not selfless. So self-care is huge. I think just in life, let alone each individual, vocation that we're all have chosen to be in. Self-care or burnout. Continue doing what you love to do, or using burnout as an excuse to find something you hate or don't like or doesn't give you joy and meaning and fulfillment. So I think, Laura, your whole, topic of self-care is huge, huge. And I love this topic because it covers so many aspects of our life.
Yeah, and it covers so many different realms. I always tell people it's more than just bubble baths. I mean, it's financial, it's physical, it's emotional. Yes. And, I have to say, Kathy, and I'm sure there's got to be somebody in my audience that's listening. I know you and I have just met, but I feel like either you already know about me or because Suzanne and I both just got done writing, co-authoring chapters in the Achieve Wellness. And my chapter happens to be self-care through tragedy. I lost my husband 18 years ago, which is what set me on this path. And in the last 60 days, we have gone through the death of my fiance's grandmother. My father just passed away a month ago in Colorado. Out of 60 days, I have been home for maybe 20 of it, and I've been on the road. And it is emotionally draining. You might feel like it's physically draining because you will be tired, but it's emotions that are draining you and making you. And my nature has been my saving grace, but from previous ones, because I have gained some of that awareness through past experience, I knew my boundaries and where I had to stay because I am that helper person. That has always been my nature, my heart, and to help people. It kind of tends to make you a people pleaser, which is not always a good thing. But during that whole process, I had to put myself into a role that I knew I could handle, like helping my mom with stuff at home. I couldn't be there every day watching my father deteriorate, and then I would just go out and walk on the property because I just needed that fresh air. I needed to regroup because you get overwhelmed and you get overloaded. You most definitely do. And I love my neighbors because the first time we went away and we came back, since I had my mail stopped, nobody was feeding my birds or the deer or nothing. It took me 3 days to get the birds and the deer and even the squirrels to come back. I was like, I was so happy to be home and enjoy the property and nature. Then my critters were gone. So the second time my neighbor came over and she made sure she fed them every day. And so when I came home this time, I got to hear all the birds and see the birds and the squirrels. And it was part of my self-care and my happy place to just regroup and get back to where I needed to be. Nature plays a huge part.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of what you talked about really resonated with me, and I am sure it will resonate to many people that are watching this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so. And I think so too, because we're all different, but we're so much alike as human beings, right? Yep. And that's going back to that whole theme of collaboration creates community. And I think meeting you now, Laura, and getting to know you, that's what the three of us are about, right? There's room for us all.
Oh, absolutely.
Room for us all, right?
It's community, it's support, it's, accountability, it's so many things. And yeah, that's what I love about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're really lucky because being in business for ourselves, because when you go have a job, you don't get time to really take care of things when things don't go right. And I was thinking of this when you were talking, Laura, because, if you had a job, you would just be, it would take you so much longer to take the time to recover.
And he lost his job. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh
that's
yeah.
Right.
Well, he had picked up something temporary until we get his real estate investment business up. And because we had to go, he was out for an emergency surgery before, and then he was only back for a month when his grandma passed away. And they're like, well, you don't have any more leave of absence. It's like, well, thank you for the opportunity then. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I don't care. Jobs are dime a dozen. Yeah. This is what we need to do. We're gone.
Yeah.
So bye.
But yeah. And think of the people that don't take that and say, take this job and shove it, how they used to say.
Oh yeah. Good song, Johnny Paycheck.
I remember that song.
Yeah. And they don't, because they're terrified of losing their income or losing this, but then they have to deal with regrets, if they didn't do this or they didn't get to say goodbye. Then they have that to sort through and sort out. So yeah, being a business owner, I love it. It's on your own time. And because I've lost so much in everything one time, I really don't care. Jobs are a dime a dozen. There's so many signs up that say, hey, work today, get paid tomorrow, because they need people to work. But,
you get paid today and you can work tomorrow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There you go.
Listening to
that'd be even better.
The two of you, Suzanne and Laura, and about jobs, and what word came to me is freedom.
Yes.
Laura, the freedom you had that Suzanne really brought up, through this whole last 60, 90 days of your life that you've shared with us and that is part of self-care, right? Is giving ourselves freedom when we're locked either in the emotional prison that I talked about, or the prison of a job, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for your audience that wants to become an entrepreneur, it'll give you freedom. It'll give you freedom.
Absolutely. I mean, I could do my business from anywhere, but when I know I am not whole, I was dealing with too much and I couldn't be present like I needed to be for people, things just kind of had to shut down. But you know what? All those business partners and friends were still there for me. They were still there to say, hey, what do you need? Anything you need, you call me. And that was just wonderful. I mean, you don't even know sometimes what to ask them, but just to know that it's there was a huge difference. Absolutely huge difference.
Wow, that's beautiful. That is beautiful. Freedom. Years ago, I knew this. 30 years ago, when, I remember telling myself, I'll eat beans and rice for as long as I have to, but I'm not going to go work for anybody else because I want freedom. You know, has it been hard? Suzanne and I, we've talked about this, you know, the length of time, almost 60 years in this profession together, right? 55, I think it is. You know, we didn't last this long because we're asleep. We lasted this long because we've made some mistakes and we've learned from them. And we made some wrong choices and we made some very wise choices, right? And I think freedom is a big center of it all. That it has given us, and Laura, what you're doing, it has given the three of us freedom. You know, so maybe your audience is thinking about this one too. How many people do we know that are in a job that just can't stand it? But they're not willing to be that naked tree for a while, to find out their deep roots. What do you really want in life? And that's really perhaps the background of what Suzanne and I are doing in New Business Dimensions. You know, she mentioned one of the dimensions. I'll just mention the four real quick. And by the way, New Business Dimensions is a reflection of the fifth dimension for those of you that remember them back in the 60s and 70s. I'm just kidding, but we had fun with that. With the fifth dimension, right?
Additionally, we're in the age of Aquarius, so
that's right.
Up and away.
Yes, yes. But anyway, the other four dimensions, the business, the solopreneurship, entrepreneurship that Suzanne is so versed in, and through her own hard work and experience has created a life for herself, you know. And then the other dimensions are transformational ethics, and then self-leadership, leading from within, the mindset, knowing your why, you know, knowing your beliefs that work for you, that don't, that leading from within, right action, right thinking, kind of mentoring and coaching. And then we have adjunct therapy, which is really how to create multiple sources of income, especially as massage therapists or anyone that works. They earn money by seeing somebody, right?
Right.
I don't want to give this up, but I want to make more income, right? I want more income. I want more freedom financially. So we teach people adjunct therapies, from product to passive income to whatever, teaching, writing, whatever one's interest is, but how to make money in our profession off the table or out of the office. And then, of course, the fifth dimension is our mentoring and coaching program based on all of this. And we're here to serve, truly. You know, Suzanne, I know we've talked about this, is our own why. And what do we do in this thing? I mean, we met just, you know, we know how we met, right? And it was meant to be. But one thing we got straight from the very beginning is our why. And Laura, you have a big why. I don't know your history and, you know, all of it, but I know a little bit I know of you. You have a deep and wide why. And that's part of the root of your tree. And that's part of the root of Suzanne's tree and my tree together as we collaborate on this new business we're in to really help and serve others. We don't have to do, you know, this, we don't have to do this, but we're really truly doing it to help these younger people live a life they really can enjoy and that brings them meaning and purpose and passion, you know, and to keep the heart and soul in our profession that we believe is being lost through technology, through just many different things, different kinds of ethics that are out there today versus what we were raised with. And so we bring some old-fashioned goodness into what we do too. And I'm never embarrassed to say that. You know, so yeah. So grateful you invited us on, Laura, and so grateful that I've met Suzanne. And the three of us can continue to serve, right?
Oh, absolutely. Very honored to have both of you ladies with me this afternoon. And we will definitely get all of your whatever contact information that you want to let people know, the best way to get a hold of you, or when to, do you have an exact date for the launch of your Inspiring Conversations with Kathy and Suzanne yet? Or
March
just
8th.
March 8th?
March 8th.
Isn't it, Suzanne? March 8th.
March 8th.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we will put all that information in the comments below the video.
Okay. Yeah. Second and fourth Wednesday of each month. And they'll be recorded. So people can, you know, get access to them. And then, you know, join our community. And stay in touch with other like-minded people, you know, like we're doing here.
Yep.
Like we're doing here.
Very important. Very important.
Yeah. So, Laura, do you want us just to put our information in the chat room? Is that what you want?
When the video's done, we'll close this down, and on the comments on Facebook, because people don't see the chat. So yeah, let's put in the comments on Facebook, and we'll make sure. So again, I want to thank you ladies for spending this time with me this afternoon and sharing your knowledge and the information. I greatly enjoyed it. And so anyone watching, just so you know, these videos are all now recorded. They are on my YouTube channel, and I will put a link to that. So any interviews that I have done previous or before, you will find them there. We will have the information of how you can connect with these ladies or ask them questions. Like she said, we're all here to help and serve and support you. And that's what we're here for. Tomorrow, I do have another professional guest. His name's Brent Jackson. He is a business advisory coach and a business advisor. He's all about positive change in business and having systems that can help make you profits in your business. So I look forward to that too. So we do have another interview coming up for you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time. But thank you, ladies, very much. I hope you all have a wonderful day. And just remember that self-care is not selfish. It's essential for a healthier you. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.